Alright, so here I am, covered in drywall dust. I got a Facebook message this morning from a friend of mine. He said, "Hey, are you going to church?" And I said, "No, I'm drywalling the house." So while I'm drywalling the house, I was thinking, that's an odd question. I haven't gotten that question in a while, except for my wife, who asks me every Sunday. And I go every other Sunday or something like that. And it started making me think about something. So you got these challenges out there. You got the ice bucket challenge. You got the cinnamon challenge. There's all kinds of challenges. I got a new challenge. I'm going to tag the people that I'm challenging in, but I want to tell you why this challenge. And I got a couple of reasons, okay? One reason is because I know if I put it on Facebook, if I put it on YouTube, it'll be there forever, and one day my kids will be able to go back and look at it if they want. And so it'll be there for them. And the other reason was because I don't think I've told it, 7 years. The last person I told this to was Scott Bloyer. And one of the things that struck me when I first became a Christian, so to speak, was the power that is in a testimony. So here's the challenge. Get out your phone, get out your laptop, whatever you want to do it. The challenge is to give your testimony and then tag someone else in that to hear their testimony. And now I will tag you in this for any number of reasons, but most of the reasons that the people that I'm tagging, if you're not tagged, it doesn't mean anything bad, but the people I'm tagging, I kind of want to hear what theirs is and what they would have to say. And that means that they never told me. So here's my testimony. I'm going to go first. All right. So I was in prison for 10 years. And the whys and the wherefores really aren't important. But while I was in prison, I was basically an atheist. Now, I wasn't raised that way. I just became that way. You know, my belief, just so that you know, was that Christianity and religion in general was created by man, and it was a farce to make people follow rules. That's what I believed. So I'm in prison. I was 5 years in, 4.5 years in, and I committed 3 escapes from maximum security when we were being held in Bowie County, Texas. And that ended up putting me in maximum security. Now, there's a wonderful story behind that I'm not going to tell you. So I ended up in, they put me on a plane, they shipped me back to Colorado, and they put me in Colorado State Penitentiary, which is a supermax, and I was there for 5 years. Well, while I'm in there, you're locked down 24 hours a day. If you get out of your cell at all, you're handcuffed, you're shackled, you go to the shower, or you go to the day room. It's a 5x5 little windows cell with a window in it, and a pull-up bar. That was it. So I was there for 5 years. Most of the time, any interaction in there went like this. You know, you got one guy in every cell, and they yell at each other through the doors. And sometimes they'll play chess through the doors, but more than anything, you had these cell soldiers, and all they would do is they'd sit in there and they'd yell and scream and cuss people out and pick fights. And then that would escalate to them grabbing their flip-flop and banging on the stool that connected to the desk, which was steel into concrete and reverberated everywhere. Sometimes this would go on for days. They'd have these little things where they'd be battling so hard that they didn't want anybody to sleep for days. Okay? One of the guys in there, his name was Rook, and he was what they call Christian identity. He was a racist. Okay? Now, the cool thing about this is God can use anybody, all right? Anybody. There was one thing in the world that I held on to real tight, and I was raised, this way, and that was I hated racism. More than anything in the world, it was my number one. I hated racism. Well, Christian identity, just in case you didn't know, is a racist religion that says that white people are Israel, the Jews are demons, and yada yada yada. And so this guy would get up in front of his cell all day long and spout this racist crap. And so I would spout back about, your religion's crap, evolution, everything. And then he would say stuff that would make me think about evolution, not about being racist, but about evolution or about what the Bible said. And so I started reading the Bible every day. And I read through the whole thing. And I read through the Bible for only one reason: to argue with this guy. And so I started reading the Bible every day, and it wasn't 3 to 6 months, I don't remember how long it was, but I became a Christian. And so much so, I became a super Christian. One of those ones. I memorized the book of Romans, the book of James, the book of Philippians. I memorized a lot of the Bible. I taught myself Hebrew, and I taught myself Greek. And then I ended up getting out of Supermax, and they sent me to Sterling. And in Sterling, I met a lot of good people. And at that time, there was a dorm. They set up one dorm, and it was called the Life Learning Dorm. And the purpose of this dorm was to teach you how to live your life based on biblical principles. They couldn't say Christian principles. They had to say biblical principles, because otherwise somebody would have lost their mind. So I ended up going into that, and things just transformed. I was transformed. Things happened to me that changed the way I look at everything. And I'm going to tell you the main reason that I want you to share your testimony, because I'm making this short because this could go on for a long time. Okay, so the main reason that I want you to share your testimony is because I think most of us don't do it, because especially in a place like Facebook, because we know that our friends know us, and they know our flaws. So let me throw my flaws out there, just so there's I want you all to know my flaws. I smoke, I drink, I cuss, I'm a lusty cat, and I got more problems than Carter has liver pills, okay? Sharing your testimony doesn't mean you got to be perfect. A lot of people that aren't Christians like to point out and throw this word hypocrisy around. You're a hypocrite. You don't do this, you don't do that. So let me be very clear. I'm going to define hypocrisy for you, so that if somebody comes back at you and says that you're a hypocrite, this is what you say. A hypocrite is somebody that tells somebody to do something that they are not doing themselves. So if I'm in a bar having a JMO, and I look over at you, invite you to become a Christian, and then say you shouldn't drink, then I'm a hypocrite. You'll never see me tell somebody that they shouldn't do something that I'm doing, unless they're my kids, because they're not 18 yet. And so that's my story. This is my challenge.